Human trafficking by Zalali and Cat. Every year, millions of people are being trafficked worldwide, including the United States. Men, women, and children are getting lured into being trafficked with the use of violence, manipulation, false promises, and many more. Human trafficking can happen to anyone, no matter their age, race, or beliefs. The most common types of human trafficking include forced labor, sex trafficking, and debt bondage. Human traffickers usually use their wealth, privilege, and power to control. For example, they could be business owners, gang members, and etc. Human trafficking is a multi-billion-dollar criminal industry that has affected over 25 million people around the world.
Background. Unfortunately, human trafficking is a huge problem that's been around as long as humans have. Commonly referred to as modern day slavery, this issue happens everywhere, and the internet has only made the problem more severe as there are no longer any distance/transportation barriers. It all began with the transatlantic slave trade when the first pronounced slave voyage to the Americas from Africa took place in 1525. This continued for 350 years where 12.5 million slaves were shipped. After this era, there were many others like the trafficking of Chinese women, but it's only risen and gotten worse over the years. In the 1900s, however, it was the highest, and once the League of Nations was founded, they got 33 countries to sign the International Convention for the Suppression of Traffic in Women and Children after the First World War in a 1921 conference, as well as after the Second World War, adopting the United Nations Convention for the Suppression of the Traffic in Persons and of the Exploitation of the Prostitution of Others in 1949.
Okay. Today we are going to be interviewing.
Guys?
Okay, what is your definition about human trafficking, if you have any?
My definition, I don't know much about the subject, but what I would say it is that human trafficking is illegally, forcing people to go places and do stuff you want with them.
Okay. Okay, and what are your thoughts about it?
I mean, obviously it's not a good thing, I don't like it, but, it's gotta stop.
Second question, where do you think it's most prominent?
I think it's most prominent in probably poorer areas or third world countries because the living conditions that they're put in, they're more inclined to do anything they can to survive and stuff.
Liz Williamson. When Liz Williamson was only 6 years old, her mother sold her into the sex industry because she wanted to make money off of child pornography. Throughout the age of 18, on most nights she was raped, and this happened in her own house on the East Coast and throughout the United States, including in Jackson. Men paid her mother to have sex with her, and her mother only told her, "Smile, look pretty, and do whatever he says if you love me," Liz said. Gladly, she got away from her family in college, but unfortunately fell back into sex trafficking and got out for good at the age of 23. The spark for her escape was a Jackson native named Jenny Williamson, who ended up adopting Liz and helped her start healing. Jenny Williamson is the founder and CEO of Courage Worldwide, which is a 501c3 nonprofit that builds what's known as courage houses for children who have been rescued from human trafficking.
Samantha was homeless by the age of 12 and was forced to work as a sex slave for a human trafficker. Samantha was only allowed 4 hours of sleep a night, and her trafficker made her addicted to heroin. Samantha wasn't allowed to talk to anyone or look at anyone. And I quote, "I had to tell my order, and he would tell the waiter. I was only allowed to look at him or the ground. And if you messed up in public, then you were going to get beat as soon as you get into the room." Deliver Fund, an organization that focuses on targeting human traffickers in the U.S., worked with law enforcement to track Samantha's trafficker and gather information to bring the trafficker to justice.
Constitutional relevance. In the present time, prohibitions of human trafficking have their roots going back to the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution states the prohibitions of slavery and involuntary servitude. Human trafficking is a violation of basic human rights and is prohibited under the international human rights law. Conservative versus liberal stance. A clear example of the conservative versus liberal stance on the topic of human trafficking can be seen in the decision that all state representatives made. The legislation was titled the Frederick Douglass Trafficking Victims Prevention and Protection Reauthorization Act, which thankfully passed in a 401 to 20 vote. It's interesting to see that all the opposition came from 20 House Republicans and that 8 Republicans and 1 Democrat did not vote at all. The bill called to allocate more than $1.1 billion over 5 years to reapprove and bolster programs that were created under the Trafficking Victims Protection Act of 2000. Below is a list of people who opposed a bill that seeks to fight human trafficking. Among these people are Matt Gaetz from Florida, Brian Babin from Texas, Andy Biggs from Arizona, Tom McClintock from California, Van Taylor from Texas, Scott Perry from Pennsylvania, Ralph Norman from South Carolina, and Mary Miller from Illinois. These names are just some of the 20 House Republicans that voted against the bill.
And that's all, folks.